All right, so for those, can everyone hear me? All right, so for those of you who don't know, my name is Avery Testimony, and today I'm going to be sharing my testimony. So I'm a Christian, as you all know, and so are my parents, so is my family, and really, the way my family built me up, I should have a pretty boring testimony, but it's not quite like that. I've been going to church my whole life, and as a kid I was forced to, so it just kind of got to the point where I was just going just 'cause, and it was just getting really boring to me. And then I got to an age where my parents stopped making me, and I was kind of surprised, but I was like, okay, and I took that and I stopped going to church. And at first it was just like, you know what, like it'll just be this Sunday, like, and I'll go every other Sunday this month. And then it was like, well, every other, like, it's a schedule, so like that's fine. And then it was like, all right, I'll go to church because it's been a while. And then it was to the point where it was like, all right, I haven't been into even inside a church in months. And at that point, it was now the beginning of high school, new chapter in my life, all that stuff. And you know what? I started getting with the wrong crowd, the wrong people, and that just started just a downward spiral. And it really just didn't feel anything. It got pretty bad, and just like the people around me like just weren't doing good things, and well, I didn't partake. When you're around those people for so long, you start to think of those things, and thinking of those things are just as bad as doing them. So it started getting bad. So I was at the beginning of high school, no Jesus in sight, and it just looked like it was just gonna keep exponentially getting worse. But I don't know. I had so many friends, but at the same time, I felt more alone than ever, and it just felt like there was just this gap inside of me, and it was a really rough part of my life. And to fill that gap, I was like, all right, let's think. Like, it's the beginning of high school, I got a bunch of friends, I got a good family, and I was like, ooh, a girlfriend. Like, you know what, that just seems like that'll add up. So I just went searching, and I ended up being in a relationship, and that took up about a year of my life. She did not love Jesus, and honestly, at that point in my life, neither did I, and it just started the spiral to go even more and more down. So at that point, obviously the relationship didn't work out, and there I was just sitting more alone than ever. Like, I had been doing all these stuff that the world tells me, like, oh, this will fill it, this will fill it. And I had done all these stuff, and I had nothing to show. I was just sitting there, like, just feeling worse than ever, more alone than ever, and I was a completely different person than, like, a year prior. And to make it even worse, all these friends I had did, like, drugs and stuff, but I didn't. So because of that, I was like, oh, well, if I'm not doing this stuff, the stuff that I'm doing with other people, that makes it okay. Because in my mind, like, oh, this is less worse. Like, this isn't as bad. So that justified me doing it in my own head, and I was just gaslighting myself. And if I need to do that for myself to feel comfortable, obviously that showed something needed to change, but I really just didn't want to take that step, and I didn't want to accept that because I knew, like, I was a piece of crap, but I knew I had a lot of work, and I just wasn't ready to put that upon myself to change that. But eventually, the church I said I hadn't gone to for a while, it'd been like probably a year and a half, 2 years at this point, or however long. And my stepmom actually was telling me, she was like, well, you know, like you're in high school, and she's like, there's this youth program. It wasn't this youth program, but she was like, there's this youth program, and you know, like maybe you should check it out one time. And I was like, for me, it seemed like, all right, why would I go here? It's hanging out with a bunch of people I don't know. I don't know Jesus. Like, why on earth would I want to go here? But so I just kept living my normal life. That cycle just kept happening. I just kept getting further and further down. But it was just still always sitting in the back of my mind, like, maybe I should try this out. So eventually I ended up giving in, and sure enough, I ended up going. And you know, it ended up my life started getting a little better. I started getting better friends. I started to get my life in shape. But like I said, I was a piece of crap. And the reason I was scared to take the step is because I saw it a lot of work. But just because I was getting better, it still meant I had a lot of work to be done. And now I started getting upon the issue that, all right, I'm trying to still hang out with all these people, but on the other side of it, I'm trying to live a godly life. So I was pretty distraught for a while. So there's this fork in the road. But eventually, I was getting more and more into my faith. And I ended up going to this lock-in at my church at the time. And it ended up being super fun. And that's why I went to it. Because, like, youth group, the reason I went for a while was just because, like, oh, it was, like, fun. I know the people there. Like, why not? And then I ended up building that connection with God. And then at that lock-in, I ended up giving my life to Jesus. And it's really started to go uphill since then. But I mean, like I said, that's not the end of my testimony, but that's definitely a milestone for me. But yeah, I mean, it's a funny feeling. Like, you feel so emotional, but so overjoyed at the same time. And it's like the only kind of good overwhelming, like, I can think of. But yeah, Jeremiah 17:14. Oh Lord, if you heal me, I will truly be healed. If you save me, I will be truly saved. My praises are for you alone. Now, I want to give you guys an analogy that my friend Gabe actually told me. So imagine that there's these two A-frame ladders. They're both going diagonally the other direction in opposite ways. Now, you can climb both of them for a while, but you get to a point where your arms are just completely stretched out and you're not progressing in either. Now, that is your life of the world and your life of God. And that's where I was at for a while, because I still wanted to do both. They were both fun and they were both, in my mind, beneficial, so I still want to do both. But I was just sitting at this point for a while where I was like, all right, what do I do? Because I was just clinging on to both. And I knew that God had healed me, and I knew that God had saved me, so I had to choose the right path. I had to choose my godly life. But I mean, it was still a struggle for a while. I mean, it still is. Like, I've climbed back down the ladder before and been back to that point where it's like, all right, what am I supposed to do here, God? Like I just had so many doubts, and I'm pretty steady now, but I mean, it's still a struggle for all of us, and that's just how it goes, because as we get deeper into our faith, it sometimes feels bad, because like, you start to see all the things that about your old life that you didn't like, and that was really hard for me for a while. But I just had to realize that more of God meant less of me, and I'm okay with that, because every step I take away from him, every step of that ladder I climb down, he's climbing down one with me. Every step I take away from him, he's stepping one right with me, so when I'm ready to snap out of it, he's right there to catch me. But however, like I said, just because I chose this life doesn't mean that the battle's over. It's actually just beginning. There's another thing that Gabe actually told me: if the devil can't get to you, he'll distract you. So it's been a battle, but I mean, with God on my side, I can do anything. But yeah, God's given me the strength to keep climbing, and to never look back. So Micah 7:7. As for me, I look to the Lord for help. I wait confidently for God to save me, and my God will certainly hear me. And yeah, it used to be a fight, and it still is now. But now I am never alone, because I've God on my side. Since then, I recently went to a Christian basketball camp that I had the honor to coach at a couple months back, about in the middle of the summer. And it was a super good experience. I kind of got to learn what worship was for me, because that's just not always been my thing. But now that I understand that it's for God and not just some song, it's been a lot better. But yeah, I ended up at that basketball camp, Christian basketball camp, I ended up getting baptized a couple months back. And actually, when I got baptized, thank you. Nah, guys, getting baptized is such a beautiful thing. Like, when I got baptized, they put me under for 3 seconds to kind of just to correlate to Jesus dying for 3 days. So, like, me going down and me dying in my old ways and coming back new. So honestly, it's kind of full circle. Like, just when I was starting my journey, giving my life to Jesus, it was emotional, but I just felt so, like, overwhelmingly filled with joy. And it was the same thing now, and, like, I've been a Christian for a minute. And it's just so nice that God still gives me yeah, I mean, yeah. But yeah, I've really never felt alone since having Jesus in my life. And all these things I thought would fill me up just didn't. And it really just took Jesus, that one small thing. Yeah, I mean, also since even before camp, like this is just a little side rant, but I've used my Bible app a lot. Like I use it like every day, but I don't know why it just got old after a while. Like there's nothing like cracking open like a physical Bible, and so eventually I started straying away from the Bible app, and I had a Bible, but I actually lost it. I ended up getting gifted a Bible, and I mean, if you guys haven't read the Bible in a while, I would really recommend it because it's just given me so many answers, and it's like whenever I have a problem with something, I'll feel God like just calling me just to do that, and it'll just like solve all my like problems. And also, here's another analogy for you guys. So I actually heard yesterday. So anytime you're feeling like anxiety or overwhelmed, that's like an alarm clock going off that, all right, like this is your time now to talk with God. Like, all right, it's been long enough. Like this is your time to read the Bible, get in the Word. So that's just a little thing. And then I also would like to share with you guys one more thing. So something I've been struggling with lately is as I'm getting further and further into my faith, I'm starting to expect more and more from myself. And obviously after, I don't know how many of you guys went to Forge, but when you go to these kind of camps, like you're in like a high, and like I've been to camps before, like I know it wears off and it's kind of scary, but like I start to feel bad about myself when I don't have like that constant 100% like hunger for the Lord. But I actually got sent this the other day, and it really helped me. So when it comes to the hunger for His Word, a friend of mine explained to me the other day like this: after you've just eaten, odds are you're not going to eat another entire meal. But when we get hungry, what do? We eat. Sometimes that hunger is there, and sometimes it's not. But we all know that no matter what that hunger will return. We always eventually get hungry again. Don't put yourself down for not having that hunger, but don't forget where you can find that food when you do get hungry. His Word is the only source of real food, so don't turn to something else instead of Him and His Word. And that's something I did for a long time. I'd be hungry for something more, and I would just try to fill that with earthly things. And the thing about that is you can try to do it, but you'll just keep wanting more, and it'll never be enough. But that's until you choose God. Philippians 4:13, for I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. And the reason I say that is because my message today is that the fight is not over. Because when God's in our corner, we can do all things. 1 Corinthians 10:13, the temptations in your life are no different from what others experience, and God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. When you're tempted, He will show you a way out so that you can endure. So I think that's what's so amazing about youth group is we're able to, like, as I said, part of my struggle is I was just around people who just were not good influences. And like, you can think that that's all right. And for a while I did too, but after a while it starts to wear on you. It's the same thing with the music you listen to, but that's a whole different rant, so I'm not gonna get into that. But yeah, it literally says at the beginning of the verse, the temptations in your life are no different from what others experience. And that's what's so cool about building that community. And that's what's really helped me take my faith into another level, because like, I'm sure you guys heard before, Jesus ate with sinners, but He didn't become one. It's the same thing, like we all struggle, like even Jesus did. And I just really quick want to end with Proverbs 16:33, a verse I came across a couple days ago that just really helped me. We may throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall, which basically what that means is we can try to do whatever we want in life. We know, like Travis talked about it at Forge, for those of you guys who went, we can have our own plan, and we know what we want, or maybe we think we know what's best, and that's us rolling the dice. But the Lord has a plan for us, and He's going to make that plan happen. And that's the second part, but the Lord determines how they fall. But like I said, when God's on our side, we're never alone. So I just want to leave you guys with this, that the fight's not over. And no matter how far away you stray, or even if you don't know Jesus today, you still have so many chances. But I would take the chance right now. But let's pray really quick. Dear Lord, I thank You for giving me this opportunity today, and I thank You for all the students that met here today. Lord, I just love you so much, and I just thank you for everything, for the weather today, even though if it wasn't great, but Lord, just another day alive and breathing, and just being able to praise you is just so amazing, Lord. I just pray that Drew can have an amazing message, and I just pray that you're with all of us today and tomorrow and the rest of our lives, Lord. I pray that if anyone here doesn't know you today, Lord, that they just feel that push, and they just feel like me, they just have that lingering thought in the back of their mind that maybe I should try this out. But Lord, I love you, I thank you,